Welcome back to episode 10 of the Forza Juventus podcast. We are back after the international break, and we have witnessed defeats to Como, Lazio, and Real Madrid in the Champions League. This morning, the news broke out. Igor Tudor has been sacked. Let's just dive first into Igor Tudor. Anthony, how are you feeling? I think I know how you're feeling, but let's hear it.
Well, it was such a dire need that for the fans, I had to come out to the Continenza myself, and I'm here in the boardroom. So we're gonna get right into it. I talked with everyone personally, so I know what's going on.
The big urinals and the small urinals.
Yeah, well, we know which one Al can use. That's for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, let's hear it.
I mean, it's. I don't think this is all on him by any means. There's much bigger problems than Tudor. But you can't lose. It's not even just the losses; it's the way we lost the games, and it's just coming apart at the seams. So it probably had to be done. I don't think that it's going to help us that much, but and I think whoever we hire right now, and if it really is Spalletti, and I'm sure we'll get into that, we need to be very careful with the contract we give him because he's very brave for taking over this team at this point, but it might not be that much better, guys. So yeah, I mean, it probably had to happen. I'm not big on mid-season sackings, but it is what it is.
I think we knew. I mean, since we started this podcast, we knew in the Club World Cup that when Tudor was confirmed to stay for this coming season, we knew it was not going to be good football. It was a guy who was tactically out of his depth. It was a guy who was lucky to have a job at a club this size, at the magnitude of everything, in a situation where Allegri and Mata, who didn't make it, to fall on a guy like Tudor, who has no record at a big club, just a guy that has the former Bianconeri to his name. Simply, that's it. So we knew he was not going to make it far. We've been saying all season, all in each podcast, it's not looking good. It wasn't a matter of waiting until the end of the season. It was a matter of what point in the season Tudor wasn't going to make it. It's October, currently October 27th was the day he was fired. It
didn't see it coming this soon.
I will say that as well. We are winless in 8, 3 losses in a row. We haven't seen a win since September. We haven't scored a goal since October 1st. It's the results piled on. And again, like you said, Tudor's not fully at fault. He is at fault for the shitty substitutions we saw, the lineups that have remained unchanged, the players that are constantly switching because we don't know what the right lineup is. It's a mess. It's a mess tactically, but the players too. And we'll get into that. It was a bad mix. And right now it's a full-blown crisis. And I thought we would be out of that. We're not. And I don't know when that's going to happen. But as of right now, the names being linked to Juventus, as you said, Spalletti, Palladino, and Mancini. Of those 3, again, right now it's looking, DiMarzio reported earlier that Spalletti is looking to be the front runner. The board is talking with him to finalize the contract. What ideally should happen is whoever the manager is needs to be okay with having a contract that ends at the end of this season with the chance of an option that is determined by the club, because that's what Tudor had. He was at the end of this season. We're going to see who potentially got who's available next summer. It was supposed to be Conte Gasperini. That fell through the window. So Tudor was to remain. Didn't work out. So now we got these 3 names. Of these 3, who would you prefer to be in charge and why?
Well, that comes with an asterisk, but I would definitely take Palladino. And the asterisk
agree.
is I don't want to see Palladino here at this point in time because this is not a place any coach wants to be. You're a dead man walking if you take this job right now. Truly.
It's Mata 2.0.
Yeah. It's what's even worse because you got to pick take over a team that's in complete disarray. At least he got to start a season, right? With supposedly players he wanted. There's a lot more to that, I think. Than people realize. But I like Palladino. I think Palladino is good with young players. He's adamant about bringing up young Italian talents, and that's the main guy I'd like to see, but only on those terms that he can start at the beginning of the season, and we build a project around him. They grow together, him and the players. That's that. Right now, at this point in the season, I don't think it matters. The problem with bringing in a guy like Spalletti or Mancini is why, in their right mind, with their pedigree, would they take this job? They're going to take this job on the basis that they're going to get more than an 8-month contract, like you're saying. And I don't think we're in a position to offer that because I don't think either of those guys are long-term solutions, and I don't want them long-term. I think those are known quantities. We know what they're capable of and what they're not capable of, and I don't think either of them have the upside that is good enough for Juventus. Mancini or Spalletti, I don't like Spalletti at all. I'm not a big fan of Mancini either, but I would take him over Spalletti just because he's the less stinky turd in my opinion. But no, I want Palladino. That was somebody I wanted at the beginning of this season. He was available. I don't know why we didn't pursue him. But I don't even think the fact we didn't even really go after him kind of made me feel like he wasn't looking for a job. And one of the funniest things that happened was I guess we offered the job to Xavi, and he said, "No, thanks. I'd rather be unemployed." So if that doesn't tell you, if that doesn't tell you where we're at right now as a club, I mean, we're in a bad spot.
I mean, from just on field, we knew defense was going to be the biggest issue. It continues to be the biggest issue. On field, the lack of midfield depth is a problem. Wingback wise, Kalulu cannot create a single bit of offense to save his life. That Real Madrid game was a shit show of offensive prowess from Kalulu. They let him. I think Real Madrid said give him all the space he wants because he can't do anything offensively. In our attack, we can't score. Like I said, scoreless all of October. So again, the problem isn't necessarily all on Tudor and the next manager, whoever comes in. It's the at the end of the day, it comes down to Comoli and the team he decided to build. Again, finances are always going to play an issue. We saw over the international break that Juve will be under some financial fair play issues come next year in the spring. The reports are saying it's just going to be a minor fee that we'll probably have to pay. Whatever. Things are looking worse. Elkin is hiding from any accountability of ownership.
Well, he's here. He's here.
Yeah. So I think going back on the coaches, I'm with you. Palladino, I think, is the option. We know what he does with young players. I mean, we saw him take on Moise Kean, who scored 0 goals the year before and then was one of the top league scorers under Palladino the following year. I think
so. Bove was looking great too. I mean, he did a great job with that team. He really did. And he's a young coach. There were some rough patches that season, and they completely retooled that team in January too. So,
yes.
I mean, he did a really good job with that team. He did a good job with Monza. It's not going to be a quick fix with him.
Yeah, not at all. I think too, he's the only coach, as reports are saying, that will accept a contract to the end of the season. Mancini and Spalletti are rumored to be 2 to 3 year contract they're seeking. I don't know why in the right mind they think that's a good idea for themselves, considering the situation we're currently in. But that's where we're at. I mean, we've seen other names like the former Dortmund coach Terzic, or however you pronounce it. The rumors of bringing Thiago Motta back, which was just absolutely insane. If anybody even considered that, it's bad situation all around. And I mean, we sound like a broken record that each episode is like, man, what could possibly get worse? And every time
it always can.
Every time it's, oh shit, well, here's the next thing we have to talk about, and the worst thing that's going to happen. So I'd say officially on October 27th, Juventus is at rock bottom of the season. Again,
don't be so sure.
Let's just hope, man, because there's always a new manager bounce. Reportedly or supposedly, we'll see what happens. I do think the one upside to a Mancini or Spalletti is the veteran leadership that they bring in just from their years of coaching. I think that's the one upside they do have over Palladino, over the young coach. But at this point, who cares? Because nothing's going to work. I can see it. We're fighting again for a top 4, maybe top 5 finish at best. Juve currently 8th in Serie A standings. So it's bad. Players, we say this when Mata was let go, we thought that the players hated him, they lost the locker room. But it seemed in the last game on Sunday against Lazio that the players, they zoomed in of Tudor talking with Cambiaso, and Cambiaso just looked like he wasn't having it. He didn't want to talk to Tudor. He didn't want to listen. So to me, at least, I was like, oh, like, do the players even know what's going on? So unfortunately, it's shit. It's shit right now, and I don't see a positive anytime soon. Anthony, anything to add on?
Well, what did the Ultras do in their little cute banner? The fish always stinks from the head. And, you know, this is now, a lot of these players have seen how many coaches in the past 3 years? Is that 4 coaches, 5 coaches, something like that? Whatever. It's too many. So, you know, it's really hard to convince people to listen to you when they think you're just another dead man walking. I mean, this is the problem. And there may not be anything actually wrong with the players' attitudes. It's just at this point, why would you believe this person, especially when it's not working? You know, it's just another, you know, because when Tudor got here, it was all hunky-dory. Oh, man, what a motivator. You know, Grinta, Juve DNA, all that crap that doesn't mean anything. You know, and then how quickly, the tides turn when things start going south, right? And there might be a new manager bounce, whatever, but we have way bigger problems. And at this point, you know, my brother's a Milan fan, and this kind of happened with Milan last year, you know, with Fonseca and then Conceição. And it's not a bad thing to not always qualify for Champions League. Because Milan didn't qualify for Champions League, you know what the management did? They actually hired a respectable coach, a great coach, as a matter, in my opinion, as a matter of fact, in Allegri. And they brought in some solid players, you know, Ricci, Modric especially. And then after the first game, after they, you know, it didn't work out, they got off their ass and they brought in a guy that Allegri specifically wanted in Rabiot. And boom, everything's working now. Rabiot in that midfield is really working great with Modric, and it's coming together. The difference, though, is Milan had some actual class players on the team before he got there. They have, you know, Leao. I think he's a jackass, but he's super talented. You can't deny it. He's got a world-class talent. Pulisic is an excellent worker, versatile. He's a gamer. You know, Magnan in his day is top-notch. You know, we don't really have that on our team. Those guys are gone. So whatever coach comes in now, you're going to have to give him some significant pieces, you know, and what I really think needs to happen is it needs to get blown up. And if we finish in top 4 again, it's not going to get blown up. We're going to do the same damn thing we've been doing for the past, I don't know how many years. We're going to try to put a Band-Aid on this thing by bringing in some random, you know, foreign players for top dollar that everyone's going to, you know, get all excited about, cream their pants, and then they're going to perform averagely, and everyone's going to act shocked. Well, we need to fix the core of this team. You know, putting aside Elkin, this is absolutely his fault. But, you know, if I'm rebuilding this team, I'm dumping pretty much everybody. I'm keeping like 4 or 5 people, and I'm just rebuilding with a couple free transfers. And there's a really promising free transfer list at the season's end. So you can even start having those conversations now. And I'm bringing in journeyman, hardworking guys to fill in the gaps and say, listen, we're going to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. This is what we actually need to do as a club. We have so many average players here, gobbling up salary space, and they're so hard to sell because of the amortization that what's his name, Juntley buried us in. And this is why when we hired Juntley, I said this guy's going to cause us lasting damage. This is the damage he's causing us. This is why this is not a shock to us. We were talking about this at the beginning of the season. Like, what do you expect the season to be, guys? We knew this was going to be a transition season. Well, here we are in our transition season. Guess what? We're going to on a 3-game losing streak. What is it, 8 without a win?
Yep.
We're still not that far out of the mix. So it wasn't, you know, it wasn't that crazy for a transition season. It just I don't think the belief was there that Tudor would be able to turn around, and certainly like Malta, once you lose the locker room, it's over for you.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. It was obvious Tudor's tactics weren't working. I don't think the players were buying into it. Just nothing was working. It was give the ball to Kenan Yıldız and pray for the best.
Yeah, you're 20-year-old. Yeah, 20-year-old kids to save the day every time.
Yeah. And though I think the worst part is that depending on how the season goes, our prized possession, Kenan Yıldız, might not be on this team anymore.
Right.
So it's really looking bleak. Unfortunately.
It's not to me. It's not to me because I think it's good for us to not qualify for the Champions League. I know that's all crazy. It'll help us rebuild a proper project. If we qualify back in the Champions League, like you just said, we're going to be putting another Band-Aid on it, and it's not going to fix the problem. And I don't want to be a team that wins a random Scudetto. That's not good enough for me. That's not good enough it shouldn't be good enough for any Juventus fan. I want to build a dynasty that will last. I want to be in that Scudetto fight every single year. And I want to have the same guys here, the same core players that are the foundation of that dynasty. And we need to find those guys. And that takes time, and that takes some shrewd player transfers. And if we can't afford to bring in an actual class player, unless they're on a free, you got to breed them from your youth sector, which we blew up last year.
Yep. Blew it up to get guys who aren't even on this team anymore, minus Scoop Miners. I think one thing that has been bothering me too is that we saw reports that Damian Camoli was going to take over the summer transfer market, and during the season he was going to bring in a guy by September, October. We're currently, again, October 27th, and no sporting director has been brought in. So again, it's just running through one guy only who ideally shouldn't be the only one making decisions. I know we have Modesto who's there to help, but he's not the sporting director. So really it's top down, when we've been saying this. It starts from Elkin all the way down to the players, that it's been a shit show. Players don't know the meaning of this club and the shirt. Yeah, it's rough. But I kind of want to go into the games, just talk about what led to this firing. So starting off with the Como game, Juventus, if you were unfortunate enough to wake up early for that game, and in Phoenix it was 3:30 in the morning for that diabolical match. I woke up for it, and I wish I didn't, but at that point I was already awake. Juventus lost 2-0 to Como, the first goal being in the first few minutes, and then Nico Paz with the dagger in the 80th plus minute. Another one of those spineless performances. We're just getting walked all over. Let's hear your thoughts.
Well, I forget the lineup for that game. How did we set up for that one again?
Pull it up.
Yeah, pull that up.
We had from the back, it was Perrin, Kelly, Gatti, Kalulu, Cambiaso, McKennie, Locatelli, Coop Miners, Conceição. Oh, sorry. This is the Lazio match. The Como match saw. One second. There we go. The Como match saw Cambiaso, Kelly, Rugani, Kalulu, Di Gregorio Net, Thuram, Locatelli, Coop Miners, Yıldız, David, Conceição. And this was the first match where Tudor made adjustments to a 4-3-3. So he had Thuram, Locatelli, Coop Miners, then three-man midfield. And then Rugani again starting, and then David at the start, or at the center, and Yıldız and Conceição on the wings.
This was Rugani Kelly at the center.
Yep.
With Coop Miners still in the field. So this is, I think we had this conversation about the three-man midfield. I know a lot of fans were hammering on Tudor for it. Guys, it doesn't matter. We don't have good. Coop Miners is not. If Coop Miners is going to be your third midfielder, you're not bringing in some awesome midfielder to strengthen your team. You're taking out a defender that's functional. In Gatti is the guy that didn't play.
Yep.
Right. Gatti's way more useful than Coop Miners. Sorry, I know people hate him. For what reason I don't understand, but he's much better than Coop Miners. So you're taking out one of our better center backs, for whatever that means, and you're putting in one of our worst players. Period. So you lose to a team in Como that plays a very, in my opinion, open, sloppy game. That should have been an easy one for us. considering that we kind of, at least in the beginning of the season, we were leaking goals but scoring a lot of goals. That seemed to be more of a best friend to us than playing against a team that plays a low block and turtles up. We can't break those for the life of us. That should have been a better game for us. But instead of sticking to his guns, he caves, listens to the fans, and it's absolutely where he got it from. Come on, he didn't just come up with that on himself just randomly. And it doesn't work. Shocker. Big, and so, yeah, should we beat Como? Do we have a better roster? I don't think so. I think people think we do because they overrate the players that we brought in. But got outplayed. Texas didn't work. Our center backs. I mean, I like Rugani. I think he's actually our best center back. But you got Kelly next to him. Man, Kelly's a terrible defender. I'm sorry, but just didn't work. That was the end of the 4-3-3, and it should have been. It's not the formation for us, and Tudor doesn't understand it. I just stick with what you know, man.
Yeah, I think I got why he was trying to change things up. But right after the international break, that was the first game back. The one difference was that we were pressing every second of that game. Pressing an entire game leads to tiredness, and that's why we conceded an 82nd minute goal or whatever it was. And it was just one of those games where, again, first half spineless, nothing, no reaction. Second half we thought we could do something, but again, they were just running us over. No, again, can't seem to find the back of the net for some reason this month. Relying on Kenan Yildiz and Conceição. Conceição, I think the honeymoon phase or whatever it is with him is kind of over, because when he's on the field, I can appreciate his quickness and his 1v1 skills, but his IQ is next to nothing, because his passing ability is atrocious. Selfish when he needs to passes when he needs to be selfish. It's just he's a liability, and I think the sooner we get Zagrova, the better we'll see a more fluid attack. Because Kenan Yildiz, I trust to make the selfish choice of he can break two guys open, get the dribble move and free. He can fake a guy and go down cross. He can go into the box. I trust Kenan Yildiz, but when I see Conceição with the ball, I fear he's going to make a stupid fucking pass that goes to the other team, one that doesn't connect. It's the IQ is abysmal with that player, and I'm kind of sick of seeing him play and his attitude that he has. It's very frustrating, and I think redeeming him wasn't the right move. I think the only reason we made that purchase was because we spent $10 million on a loan for him, and at that point you might as well just commit. So yeah, I think I'd like to see Conceição be the next player sold at some point, because it's not working unless he somehow gets a coach to tell him that you need to smarten up on the field, because
you can't do that.
Yeah, the passes are just it's truly embarrassing for a player of his type to not know when to make the right pass, especially in the wing position when that's kind of your role.
A lot of these guys don't, and when we brought him in last time and everyone was creaming their pants over him, I said this ad nauseum. I said he is a 5'3", one-dimensional, one-footed, cut inside winger. That is a dime a dozen. There are a billion of those guys on planet Earth. He's not a great player, and like I said, it doesn't have the IQ. He's great players are consistent players, and they're smart players. In this sport, you can be slow, you can be fast, you can be big, you can be little. The reason that can happen is because it's still a game about smarts, and if you don't have that, I'm sorry. Now, there are teams that can get by and players that can get by just being big and strong or little and quick, but they're limited. And we're seeing the limits of Chico, and people are finally seeing. I'm glad. It's unfortunate that we spent $40 million on him. We never should have brought him in. We never should have redeemed him. $10 million, just throw it down the toilet. Better than 40. So 30 and 10. So yeah, 40 in the end. Yeah, no, absolutely. And Zagrova was someone we were both, kind of excited to see. I think he was probably the best of the Comoli signings, but we don't really know. He could totally stick it up. But he was brought in for the right price, and he's a unique player for us because he's a player that actually has vision and technique. If you watch these last three matches, if for some reason you want to go torture yourself, and you can just look at the way none of our players can put a properly weighted pass to somebody. It's always awkward, too fast, too slow, off. They can't put a decently weighted pass on. And you saw it a lot in the Real Madrid game. They were trying to spawn counterattacks. And, Turin can't even pass to a guy, to a Yildiz who's wide open right in front of him. It's like, well, what are we paying you for? These guys are 20-some years old. They've been playing this game their whole life. If they don't know by now, you got to pick your head up. They're never going to know. If they don't know how to put a weighted pass, you can't be teaching people basic techniques at this age. They either got it or they don't. What you teach them is where you want them to be in terms of your tactical outlook, but they're mostly as good as they're going to be, especially if they're in their mid-20s. So that's that. And that, Chico, 23, whatever he is, 24, he's not going to become some genius player anytime soon. But, that's how our whole roster is. I mean, it's a bunch of average players that were totally overrated by the fan base. And what I was saying all day on X is say, hey, this is the team the fans wanted. The fans wanted Allegri out. The fans wanted Chiesa gone. They wanted Rabiot gone. They wanted all. I think I already said Max, but they wanted all these guys gone. They wanted a new, modern Juventus, and you guys got it. Here it is. It's you got done with the Italians. Only foreign signings. Only hipster coaches that do 272s and guys who drive 5 hours because they have Juve Grinta. This is what you guys wanted. So the fans, we deserve this.
Yeah. I want to segue to the next match, in the Champions League against Real Madrid. We just talked about it a bit. Lineup for that was Kenan Yildiz, Dusan Vlahovic, Coop Miners on right wing, Cambiaso, McKennie, Thuram, Locatelli benched for that, with Kalulu as the wingback, and then Kelly, Rugani, and Gatti. Funny enough that defense of Kelly, Gatti, and Rugani was the first team to stop Kylian Mbappe's scoring streak. So I guess we'll take that win as it is, but that was, to me, when I was watching it, it was the exact same game as the Club World Cup against Real Madrid. First 15 minutes, Juve had the pressure, had the attack, and they were running over Real Madrid. After those 15 minutes, the rest of the game was shit. Just allowing Real Madrid to have possession, to attack, trying to do that counter. But like I said earlier, that I do think that Real Madrid's game plan was to let Kalulu have all the space in the world possible, because every single time he touched that ball, it went nowhere with his passes. The crosses weren't there. He didn't know how to get any sort of offense going through him. And the worst part was that from the first 20 minutes when we saw Kalulu not be able to do anything, he continued to play 90 minutes under Tudor. Tudor said, nope, you are doing well. Let's keep you in when we needed a goal. And I think what really pissed me off about that game was what the players and the coach said after was, oh, we fought hard. That's a pride moment. We just fucking lost. There's no pride in losing. I don't care who it is that we play against. Saying that there's pride in that performance after losing is embarrassing, and it really is just like a testament of where we are in this club, in the world of football, that we are proud that we performed well in a loss. It's just one of those
where we got our ass kicked.
I mean, I was one of the fans that I told my friends, I was like, dude, place a bet 6-0. I guarantee it. I thought so. Was I surprised that we didn't lose that much? Absolutely. But it was just one of those where it's like, okay, I've seen this performance before back in the summer when we played against Real Madrid, and who was the one shining star in that game? The keeper, Di Gregorio. Again, the exact same thing in the summer. I saw fans on Twitter saying, oh, I hope we never have to see Juventus' goalkeeper again in the Champions League. Oh, there he was doing the exact same thing. So I really saw no difference. It was I mean, Real Madrid was lucky to get that goal. I'll give them credit for Jude Bellingham to be there at the right moment. One of those rebounds that you can never predict. But 1-0 in the second half where they scored just like in the Club World Cup. It was a pride in a loss, we'll say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any pride in losing. That's something losers say.
Yeah.
No, it's like you said, it's a testament to where we are as a club. I don't have any problem with the defensive tactics. I love Catenaccio. I think that's totally fine. I think we created enough opportunities that we could have absolutely buried. I think
Openda,
that
Vlahovic on the free run with Eder Militao right on him. He broke the space, but just shot right at Courtois. And then Jonathan, David, and Openda free for a 2v1. David with a quick pass back to Openda. Openda took a touch instead of just shooting it right off the pass. And then I believe it was Asensio, their Real Madrid center back, that came in with the slide to block it.
You have
sorry.
a great memory. You have a great memory. No, that's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have a problem with the tactics at all. What I have a problem with is the lack of quality on our team. And you saw it especially at the second part of the first half and most of the second half. We cannot execute a counterattack. Our passing is so poor. We couldn't even hit simple long balls to our open guys that are making good runs. We switched off for the goal. That was Kelly's man. He just decided to switch off.
Yep.
I think, Di Gregorio played well. I think Gatti and Rugani were very good. Why the hell we have Koopmeiners out there, I have no idea, especially in such a pivotal role in a defensive setup. I'm not Locatelli's biggest fan. If you ever seen some of the stuff my brother and I do, I mean, we bash the shit out of him, especially when he plays for the national team. But he's our best midfielder. Like it or not, the state of our team is that Locatelli is Juventus' best midfielder. Why you don't have him starting in that match is beyond me. He's by far the best defensive midfielder. So, whatever ego things happen with Tudor there, that's fine.
The rumor was that there was a falling out or whatever between Locatelli and Tudor, and Tudor said you're going to be benched. Whatever, but you're right. In a pivotal match like this in the Champions League against one of the biggest clubs in history, we're dropping our best midfielder for Koopmeiners in the right wing position.
Yeah.
So
we ran Koopmeiners as that DM in that game.
Yeah.
I don't know if the thought mob is correct. We ran him as a regista in that game. It's just ridiculous. And he's our best long ball. He's basically like a defender that can spank long balls, but that's what we needed in that game. So I didn't hate the tactics. I didn't hate Kalulu on the wing. I know that the reason he probably did that, and I'm doing my best to defend him here, but I think this is warranted.
You defending Kalulu? That's
no, not Kalulu. No, not Kalulu. Tudor. I don't like Kalulu.
Okay.
Kalulu's a very bad center back. So what do you do? Not play the guy? And I know we have Super Mario or whatever, but he can't play defense. And you're going against a Real Madrid team that does a lot of attacking, especially with with their overlaps from their fullbacks and stuff like that. And you got on that side Vinicius Jr. So I'm sure he had Kalulu out there to help with Gatti, and it did work.
It did.
Defensively. Offensively, sure, we knew we were going to take a hit, but we were going to try to play the long ball on him on the counterattack. Now, when we're down, the game's coming to the end, we're down a goal, that's when you put him on. You don't wait till the last few minutes to do it. He should have been out. John Mario should have been out on the field.
Yeah.
With 25 minutes to go to try to get back in the game. But whatever. I digress on that. That's about the most defending I can do. That Real Madrid game, and as bad as as embarrassing it was, especially the attitude we have after, that was probably his best tactical performance of his Juventus career. Truly,
it was. But that's
sad
for exactly for him. That's what his pride was. His pride was that he finally had a team play tactically okay. That's probably the first time he's ever seen a team play tactically.
And they only lost by 1 point.
Only one. We're gonna celebrate that.
Yeah.
I don't think most fans were expecting a win against Real Madrid. I don't think most were. I think we can say that it was a good match. We held our own. We didn't lose by more than 5 goals. We allowed 1 goal, whatever. But again, that's the testament of the club where we're at now. So going from losing 2-0 to Como, losing 1-0 to Real Madrid, we go into Sunday's match against Lazio, needing a win. Again, at that point, we were 7 games without a win. Going into this, we needed a win. We were not far back on the Serie A table. If we had won the Lazio game, we would have been up in the top 4. So what do? We lose to Lazio. And what was I don't even know how to express the stupid pass. Jonathan David receives the ball. He had an option of Conceição to his left. He instead heads the ball back right to, my guess was it was his intended pass was to Kalulu. Instead, it was a Lazio guy because there was about 50 feet in front between them, and said, "Here, take the ball and go score a goal." He scored the goal in the first 10 minutes, and that dictated the rest of the game.
Yeah. I think you saw the frustration from the players in that game. I really do. It was a tactical disaster. I mean, there was no shape. There was no. The players gave up. I think that a lot of them were just doing what they wanted to do.
It was the first time. Yep, it was the first time we had two strikers out there. No Yildiz, he was benched. The rumors were that he's dealing with a knee problem that he sustained at the end of last season, and right now it's not a knee like issue that we have to constantly monitor. It's one of those where he gets his rest, just constantly bandages that knee. So it was the first time we saw Yildiz not start, and then the two strikers up front.
Yeah, it obviously didn't work. We had our chances once again. You know, I know that we like to talk a lot about tactics and stuff like that. And I know that Tudor is not a great coach. I would never have kept him, that's for sure. But it's not that complicated of a game. They've been playing it their whole lives. They know how to play these positions. It doesn't really matter. You have your opportunities. You have to capitalize on them. That wasn't even David's only bad pass. He wasn't the only guy that was dropping stinkers like that. I mean, I thought Locatelli played one of his better games this season, working hard, but his passing was probably the worst it's ever been.
I remember, I forget what minute or half it was. I think it was the second half. Lazio took a shot in the box. The rebound was Cambiasso who got the ball, and he tried to pass it out of the box and instead passed it straight to a Lazio player, and then the Lazio player couldn't do anything. So Locatelli then tries to get the ball and kick it out of the box and says pass it back to back. I'm talking like 20 seconds between the two. Locatelli passes it to a Lazio player and they get a shot off for a corner. I think I'm at the point now. I've backed Locatelli. I think it's time to cash in on him. I think for the love of the club, I don't doubt the love he has for this club, but I don't think the Locatelli experiment is working out for us, and I think it's just better to cash in and find somebody who would be a better fit.
I mean, where do you stop? He is our best midfielder.
He is.
I don't think Thuram has much more upside than we're seeing right now. I think Thuram is limited. I think he's big and strong. I like his name. I like his dad, but he doesn't have great field vision. He doesn't have great technique. He's not a great passer of the ball. He's big and strong, but he doesn't really tackle that well. He isn't defensively sound, but he can be very powerful making forward runs. That's a very one-dimensional player. McKennie, I mean, McKennie's a guy that works hard, just isn't very good. Can't fault him for that, but it's time. It's another average player. It's time to part ways with. Coop Miners is slow, unathletic.
It's just Coop Miners is unsalvageable. He's done.
Yeah.
His time is up. It's time to move on. I don't even think any club that he goes to, he'll do any better unless it's in Saudi, MLS, China, one of the smaller leagues.
Yeah, he's got to go to a small team somewhere and just regain his confidence. Not only was he not nearly as good of a player as fans thought he was, but his confidence is shot now. So it's like the guy from Bomber from Royal Tenenbaums. Anyone's ever seen that movie? He just lost it, dude. Where do you start? And so, my brother and I, we did a recording a little bit earlier, and we were kind of going through Lazio's roster and Juventus roster because everyone thinks that our roster is so much better than how we're performing. Well, okay, Provedel versus Di Gregorio. Both of them are inconsistent. Di Gregorio on his day, I think, is marginally better than Provedel. That's the truth, in my opinion. So I'll give the edge to Di Gregorio. Okay, your center backs. We had who in that game? Kelly and Gatti?
Yep.
Would you rather have Kelly and Gatti or Romagnoli and Gila? I'm taking Romagnoli and Gila every single day. Gila's athletic, aggressive, gets up in the air for balls. Romagnoli is excellent in the box, getting balls out of the box. Savvy veteran, slow, but he gets made up for it. But with Gila, okay. Who are our wingbacks in that game? Cambiasso and Kalulu?
Yep.
Or would you rather have Marucic or Lazzari. I like Lazzari a lot. It's a really fast, hard player. I like Pellegrini a lot too, who came on as a sub. That to me is a wash. I like Cambiasso. I think he's talented. I think he's totally underperforming. I think he is one of the attitude problems on the team.
Yeah.
I don't think it's his fault. I'll explain that maybe a little bit later if I remember. I think he is letting the whole thing get to him. I think a lot of these players are. You know, when you're just in this environment of failure and you've seen so many coaches come in and out, you're just not going to believe, and you feel like you can disrespect them because you're still there and they're not going to be. And it's the same deal with the next guy. So, you know, and look at the midfield. I mean, is Cataldi worse than Locatelli? Is Guendouzi's I'd take Guendouzi over Turin every single day of the week. I'm sorry, Juventus fans. That is the absolute truth. I know that guy pisses you off. You know why he pisses you off? Because he's freaking good. He's a pain in the ass. He's everywhere all the time. The most annoying player to play against. I would love for that guy to be on my team. Is he a top class, world class player? Hell no. But as a workhorse, all day long. So Zaccagni and Isaacson, are they worse than who do we start that game with? Was it McKennie and Conceição?
Yep.
Up there, or let's say David and Conceição.
And Vlahovic. But
yeah. I will take Zaccagni and Isaacson all day long over David and Conceição. Yep. And I would actually take Vlahovic over Dia, but let's not forget Castellanos was injured that game.
Yeah. And
in midfield, you're also missing Rovella, who I would take over everyone. Out of all the players we got rid of, he's the one I'm the most pissed off about. So no, our roster isn't better than Lazio's. It's time to come to terms with this. We spent a ton of money, over $300 million on this roster that isn't actually better than an injured Lazio team.
Yeah, it's like we've been saying, it's a brutal spot this club is in. I think there really is. I mean, what is the next coach potentially going to say? You need to get your act together. I'm here to get your act together. We're here to steady the course and see what happens.
Like, and the players go, yeah, coach. Yeah. Oh, we heard this before. Oh, yeah. That's the problem.
So it's tough. I do want to say in that game we did witness another refereeing blunder. Conceição was stepped on in the box by Gila. It was very obvious. Video shows it. Picture showed it. Referee said, I'm not going to take a look. VAR said, don't bother taking a look. We saw that earlier against in Verona when there was a red card missing. That referee was demoted, and the coaches or the referees from Lazio's game have been suspended for a game. All of them, from the VAR room to the referee. It was truly like I'm not giving any excuse to the players whatsoever, but I will not sit here and let this shitty referees of Serie A continue to make these bullshit mistakes that are obvious on screen. It was a step on the ankle and the foot, and it's just one of those where it's just unimaginable the amount of mistakes that are just missed when we have VAR. And in the VAR room, they have like 3 referees in there looking at it all. So for none of them to say anything, to me, is bullshit and suspicious.
You're going to hate me for this opinion. I thought the ref did a fine job. I couldn't care less. Yeah. So there was, if we want to cherry pick, Guendouzi was stepped on by Openda. McKennie shoved from behind, should have been a second yellow. And Conceição wasn't going anywhere with that damn ball. He was totally playing for the foul. I can't stand watching this sport very much anymore. It's very difficult for me to sit through matches without laughing out loud at the behavior of these players. From when Isaacson was dry humping Locatelli and Locatelli shoved him on the ground, I was good. Punch him in the face. Someone needs to get punched in the face. You know, in hockey, we have a very simple solution for that type of bitch behavior. It's a solid punch to the face. These guys whine and scream and bitch and roll on the ground and hold their face. You know, in the Napoli game earlier, or the day before, like Buongiorno went rolling around the ground and grabbed his tooth. I mean, what kind of grown adult man behaves that way? And that's just, the ref let a lot of stuff go, and that's what I want to see. I don't want to see VAR getting more involved. I don't want to see them interrupting the damn game. Let the ref calls as he sees it. You win some, you lose some. I want the ref to stay as far away from the game as possible. I don't ever want to notice him. I want players to be able to go shoulder to shoulder. I want players to be able to fall on the ground and there not be a card called for it, because every time a player falls on the ground, now they stop the play. So all these players do is they fall on the ground. What they do is they purposely kick the ball away and then run into their defender and throw themselves on the ground. Some highlight reels even put this as a highlight, as like good behavior. I don't think Conceição was going anywhere. I think he was playing for the foul. I'm not pissed at all that he didn't get a yellow card, and he had plenty of opportunities without it. So no, I am sorry, I'm just recovering from being sick here. You'll never hear me bitch about no calls unless it's like an obvious outstretched arm handball in the box. I don't even care about balls bouncing off of elbows in boxes if they're not actually affecting the trajectory of the ball. I know that I'm on a limb with that one, but I want to see this game get kind of back to where it was when it was a lot more enjoyable to watch, where you let the boys go be boys, man. Let the boys handle their problems, throw some elbows. I mean, there's like a hand touches a face, and the first reaction from a guy now, I can't even believe it goes through his brain. I wouldn't even think to do this in a match. As soon as someone's hand like brushes their face, they throw themselves on the ground, make a screaming face, and they stay on the ground until they get the call they want, and they generally get it. That's just bad behavior. I think it's cheating, and I think the player that falls on the ground for that should get a red card ejected from the game just to set a precedence, and eventually it'll stop. But it's gotten to the point now where I have zero respect for any of these professional athletes as men. And in order for it to stop, we have to start letting the boys play and stop calling it every time someone falls or grabs their face. I don't feel sorry for you. I know that doesn't hurt. I played hockey. I played soccer. I've raced cars. It doesn't hurt. You're going to be okay.
That's certainly the old school mindset right there.
I'm old. I earned these gray hairs, brother.
I do think that it was funny that Igor Tudor, when he was the manager of Lazio, beat Juventus, and then when we play as Igor Tudor as coach of Juventus, loses to Lazio and then gets fired right after. Yeah. So full circle moment for him. I do just kind of want to preview really quick the Udinese and Cremonese game that we'll see. Udinese plays on Wednesday, and then on Saturday Juventus plays again. Next week we'll have the next Champions League game against Sporting, but we'll record before that. Let's just hear what your thoughts are as of right now. Brambilla, the Juventus academy, yeah, he's taking over for now. We don't know if Spalletti's going to be here in time or not. But for now, what are your thoughts for the Udinese and the Cremonese game?
I would let Brambilla coach both these games and see how he does. Because if he works out, you don't need to pay money for a stopgap solution. You can do things properly next season. I have no problem with Brambilla getting a couple matches. Whatever, fine. Who cares? I'm actually looking forward to seeing what he does, and if there's any sort of change whatsoever. I'm mainly curious to see who he values as players. Hey, this is a good opportunity for him to coach a massive team. Well, we're still a very popular team as fans wise.
Historically, we're still top five.
Historically, so you got a guy that's coaching next gen. He gets an amazing opportunity right now because of complete incompetence. And he's put in a situation where he gets to really show what he can do and advertise himself for maybe another job somewhere else, where he gets, can pay a little bit better than a next gen coach gets paid. So I'm curious to see what he can do. That sounds fun to me. That sounds a lot more fun than watching Tudor and his band of misfits stink it up again. It gives me a little bit of added interest, but I'm curious to see who he values, with his career, him building a major game on his resume, who he thinks is going to give him the best shot to have a good note on that resume. And we'll see what he does, what choices he makes. That's exciting to me. I don't care about where we're at in the table. I really don't. I think this is best for us, man. I'm going to say it again. I know I think it's best if we don't do that well, finish outside of Europe, and actually have to retool this damn team. So in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy watching this Brambilla, whatever his name is, and see what he does.
I'd be more interested to see because again, Bremer's out until end of November at least. We called up Pedro Felipe of Next Gen. I'd be actually interested to see if Brambilla will play him at all. If not, if he deems any of our defenders aren't better than him or not. That's probably the one interest I have at the moment is just to see if any Next Gen players get any playing time under him, since that's who he's been working with the whole time. Other than that, I think I'm going to be numb for the rest of the season because really nothing can surprise me anymore. And if I think the only thing that will surprise me is if we get a top 4 finish.
Well, you're a lot younger than me, so you still have excitement, and you haven't been beat down before. But I remember this is very similar to post Cacciapoli, even with the player transfers and stuff like that. Ranieri was a good appointment, but I think after him was like Zaccaroni, and it was really messy. We were signing a bunch of players from foreign players from different leagues, and everyone was thinking they were going to be the greatest thing ever, and they always ended up stinking it up. And it wasn't until we got back to basics after finishing 7th place that we started to sort our stuff out. So it's not a bad thing, and it's just 1 year in a long history of Juventus, and it needs to happen. It really, really does. And like I said earlier, I don't want to keep. I've been hammering this away on X. The fans wanted this team. This is the exact team the fans wanted. They wanted these kinds of players. They wanted the hipster coach. They wanted to change the way Juventus does business, get away from that old stinky lady, and do it now in this new, fresh way. And I hope that you're enjoying it. And you guys deserve this. That's all I got to say.
Well, on that note, we'll catch you on the next episode. Hopefully, well, I don't know anymore if there's hope, but
There's
we'll
hope.
see. Well, we got the next 2 games coming up before back in the Champions League. But until then, we'll see you next week on the next episode. See ya.